A simple gardening method exists that can dramatically increase harvest while reducing the amount of work required in the garden. Yet surprisingly, this technique is rarely taught in gardening classes or promoted in mainstream agriculture. In fact, in some places, it has even been criticized or restricted because it challenges conventional ideas about how gardens should look and operate. This powerful approach is known as deep organic mulching, and once gardeners understand how it works, many never return to traditional methods again. Before we go further, if you enjoy learning practical ways to grow more food with less effort, make sure to subscribe to Grow Bountiful so you never miss the next guide that can transform your garden. Deep organic mulching is incredibly simple in principle. Instead of leaving soil bare or lightly covered, you apply a thick layer of organic materials such as hay, straw, leaves, or wood chips directly on top of the soil. The layer is not decorative or thin, it is intentionally deep, usually ranging from about 6 inches to as much as 20 inches when first applied. The mulch remains on the surface and is never tilled into the soil. Over time it slowly breaks down, feeding the soil and creating a thriving ecosystem beneath your plants. This idea, honestly, just mirrors what happens naturally in forests. In woodland environments, leaves and organic debris continuously fall to the ground, forming a protective layer over the soil. As the material decomposes, it nourishes the soil, feeds beneficial organisms, and creates rich, fertile ground where plants thrive without human interference. Deep mulching simply recreates this natural system in the garden. So, 2 gardeners actually became famous for showing just how powerful this approach can be. One of them, spent decades perfecting a gardening style that relied on thick layers of spoiled hay. By covering the soil deeply and avoiding tilling altogether, she managed to eliminate much of the hard labor that's usually tied to gardening. Weeding became super rare, watering was drastically reduced, and honestly, the soil just kept getting better year after year. Her gardens kept producing abundant crops, even while many of her neighbors struggled with weeds and exhausted soil. Now, another gardener popularized a similar approach, but using wood chips instead. Instead of hay, he covered his garden with layers of arborist wood chips, letting them slowly break down while protecting the soil underneath. Over time, what started as hard clay soil was transformed into dark, fertile earth, just full of life. Plants that normally struggled in his climate began to thrive, showing really just how powerful healthy soil biology can be. Despite these successes, deep mulching has often been dismissed simply because it goes against traditional gardening advice. A lot of gardeners have been taught that a healthy garden should have neat rows, freshly tilled soil, and, visible ground between the plants. Deep mulching looks very different. The garden actually appears more natural, sometimes even a bit messy to folks who are used to manicured beds. In some communities, gardeners have even faced complaints just because those thick mulch layers don't match what people expect a garden to look like. However, scientific research really does strongly support the benefits of organic mulching. One of the most important advantages is moisture retention. Bare soil loses water super quickly through evaporation, especially in hot weather. A thick mulch layer acts kind of like a protective blanket, slowing down evaporation and keeping moisture available to plant roots for much longer. Studies have shown that mulching can actually reduce irrigation needs dramatically, while still improving plant growth. Temperature regulation is another big benefit. Soil that's exposed to direct sunlight can heat up really fast during the day, and then cool off quickly at night. These big temperature swings actually stress plants and slow down root development. Mulch acts as insulation, keeping soil cooler during hot weather and warmer during cold conditions. This stable environment lets plant roots grow more efficiently and, honestly, just supports healthier crops overall. Perhaps the most powerful change happens beneath the surface. When organic mulch covers the soil, it creates the perfect environment for earthworms, beneficial fungi, and microbes. These organisms break down organic matter and convert it into nutrients plants can easily absorb. As their populations increase, they naturally aerate the soil and improve its structure. Over time, this process turns compacted or lifeless dirt into rich, living soil full of biological activity. One common myth has discouraged gardeners from using wood chips and other carbon-rich materials. Many people believe these materials steal nitrogen from plants as they decompose. This can happen if wood chips are mixed directly into the soil. However, When they are used as surface mulch and left undisturbed, research has shown that this problem does not occur. In fact, the slow breakdown of organic material eventually increases nutrient availability in the soil. Real garden results really show just how effective deep mulching can be. In multiple trials and, backyard experiments, crops grown under a thick organic mulch ended up producing significantly higher yields compared to those grown in bare soil. Potatoes, for example, can often be harvested right from the mulch layer without any digging at all, and tomato plants grown with mulch, they frequently produce larger harvests while needing way less watering during those hot spells. For gardeners who want to give this method a try, the process is actually pretty straightforward. Start by covering your garden beds with a thick layer of organic material, at least 6 to 8 inches deep. Some gardeners even like to start with thicker layers, around 20 inches, since the material compresses as it breaks down. Spoiled hay, straw, leaves, or arborist wood chips all work really well for this. Over time, the mulch will slowly break down, and you'll want to replenish it each year to keep that protective layer going strong. Although deep mulching brings a lot of benefits, it does come with a few challenges. Thick mulch can sometimes create a habitat for slugs, snails, or even small rodents. Certain crops might need a bit of extra monitoring to prevent damage from these pests. Plus, the system takes some time to really develop. Soil biology improves gradually, and honestly, the biggest benefits usually show up after the first couple of seasons. Despite these minor drawbacks, the advantages are, honestly, hard to ignore. Deep mulching cuts down on watering, suppresses weeds, boosts soil fertility, and encourages all those beneficial organisms to do a lot of the work that gardeners usually have to do themselves. Instead of fighting against nature, this approach actually works with natural processes that have kept ecosystems thriving for millions of years. The idea might seem a bit unconventional at first, especially if you're used to neat beds and exposed soil, but just look at the forest floor. It's a perfect example of how powerful this system can be. By simply giving your garden a thick blanket of organic matter and letting nature take over, you can transform ordinary soil into a living, productive ecosystem that produces abundant harvests year after year. If you found this guide helpful and want more practical techniques for growing healthier crops and bigger harvests, go ahead and subscribe to Grow Bountiful and share this with a fellow gardener who wants to grow more with less work.